In 2022, forensic DNA analysis of a skeleton long labeled Arsinoe IV returned a definitive result: male. The identification, accepted for decades without genetic verification, was wrong. This is not an isolated error. It is a pattern of institutional suppression targeting Cleopatra's bloodline. For over 2,000 years, Cleopatra VII has been portrayed as Egypt's last great queen, an icon of beauty, intelligence, and political cunning. But recent scientific revelations challenge everything we thought we knew about her lineage, her death, and her legacy. And at the heart of this controversy lies a shocking discovery. A skeletal remains long believed to be a woman, but in fact reveal a male DNA profile. Introduction to the mystery. Cleopatra VII Philopator, Queen of Egypt, lover of kings, and a figure whose legend has endured through centuries. Her image has been painted as a seductress, a political mastermind, and an iconic figure of ancient allure. Yet, beneath the sands of Egypt lie secrets that could challenge everything we think we know about her lineage, her identity, and her very existence. What if Cleopatra was not fully Egyptian? What if her origins and her family ties were more complex? The answers may be buried deep beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered. The search for Cleopatra's tomb. Our quest begins at Taposiris Magna, an archaeological site on Egypt's northern coast, about 30 miles west of Alexandria. It appears modest from afar, a limestone ridge, remnants of a temple enclosure, and a landscape dotted with ruins. To most archaeologists, it looks like countless others, an ordinary site in a land rich with history. But Kathleen Martinez, a Dominican lawyer turned archaeologist, saw something different. Since 2005, she's relentlessly excavated this site, driven by a conviction that Cleopatra's tomb lies here. Her reasoning wasn't based on myth or luck, but on careful historical and religious logic. Cleopatra identified herself with Isis, the Egyptian goddess of resurrection, motherhood, and renewal. She portrayed herself as the living embodiment of Isis, aligning her divine authority with her political power. Her religious symbolism was not superficial, it was central to her identity and legitimacy. Martinez hypothesized that Cleopatra's burial site would not be an obvious royal tomb. Rather, it would be a sacred, hidden place, connected to the divine cycle of death and rebirth. If Cleopatra saw herself as a divine figure, her tomb would reflect that profound symbolism. And in 2022, her team made a discovery that shifted the entire conversation from theory to urgent pursuit. A tunnel carved deep beneath the temple enclosure. The tunnel discovery. This was no ordinary passage. The tunnel extended over 4,300 feet, more than 3 football fields long, cut through solid limestone with geometric precision that defies casual craftsmanship. It was a deliberate, organized construction, not a collapsed shaft or natural formation. The engineering was impressive for its time. The tunnel descended below the water table. Some sections collapsed over centuries, but others remained remarkably intact, preserved by the density of the limestone above. The site also yielded statues and artifacts, headless sculptures that resembled royal figures, coins bearing Cleopatra's image, and alabaster fragments with stylistic features linked to her era. While these don't confirm her tomb's location, they suggest a connection to her royal lineage and divine symbolism. The mummies and the golden tongue. In February 2021, another astonishing discovery captivated the world. Egyptian archaeologists unearthed 16 mummies in rock-cut tombs, carved directly into the limestone bedrock. The preservation was remarkable given their coastal location, an environment prone to moisture and organic decay. But the most extraordinary find was what was inside their mouths, a thin sheet of hammered gold pressed into the shape of a tongue. Why would ancient Egyptians place a gold tongue in the mouth of the deceased? In Egyptian belief, speech was sacred, vital for the journey into the afterlife. The Book of the Dead describes a process where the heart of the deceased is weighed against the feather of Mayat, and the individual must speak the truth to attain eternal life. The gold tongue amulet was designed to guarantee the dead could speak in the afterlife, ensuring their words would be heard before Osiris and the divine judges. Gold, being the flesh of the gods, symbolized eternity, impervious to decay and everlasting. The Arsinoe IV DNA controversy, unmasking the truth. In 1926, archaeologists excavated what they believed was the tomb of Arsinoe IV, Cleopatra's younger sister. The site, an ornate octagonal tomb near Ephesus, was thought to hold her remains, based on the artifacts and historical accounts of her exile and death. For nearly a century, this identification was accepted as fact. The skeletal remains, believed to be Arsinoe IV, showed signs of a young woman, aged between 15 and 18, consistent with historical records. It was a tantalizing link to the last of the Ptolemaic royal family. But recent developments have cast doubt on this long-held assumption. In 2022, genetic testing, finally accessible with advances in forensic DNA analysis, delivered a shocking verdict. The DNA extracted from the bones did not match that of a female. Instead, it was definitively male. The skeletal remains were, in fact, of a young male. This revelation shattered decades of accepted history. The supposed Arsinoe IV was a fabrication, or, at the very least, a misidentification. This was no innocent mistake. It was a systemic failure. The systemic failure of archaeology. How could such a glaring error persist for nearly a century? The answer lies in the entrenched biases and institutional complacency of the archaeological community. The identification was based solely on superficial features, artifacts, burial style, location, and assumptions rooted in gender stereotypes of royal lineage. There was no genetic verification, no rigorous scientific cross-check. Instead, the community relied on outdated paradigms, ignoring the possibility that the bones might not align with the traditional identity assigned to them. Was it a simple case of misidentification, or was there an intentional effort to obscure the true story? The broader implication: a pattern of suppression. This is not an isolated incident. The entire field of Egyptology has been plagued by similar systemic issues: misidentifications, suppressed evidence, and a reluctance to challenge mainstream narratives. The Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, the so-called neutral custodian of Egypt's heritage, has historically acted as a gatekeeper, sometimes suppressing findings that challenge the official story. In this context, the DNA revelation about Arsinoe IV exposes a pattern. The authorities may have prioritized maintaining a sanitized, romanticized version of Egyptian history over uncovering the truth. What does this mean for Cleopatra and her lineage? If the remains thought to be Arsinoe IV are actually a male, then the entire royal lineage, the family ties, and the mythos surrounding Cleopatra could be fundamentally flawed. And more critically, who else has been hidden or erased? The sands may be concealing more than just tombs. They conceal identities, truths, and potentially the very foundation of Egypt's royal narrative. The 2022 DNA results are published. The tunnel is mapped. The chamber is sealed. Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities has not revised the Arsinoe identification. The decision stands. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the greatest secrets of ancient Egypt are only beginning to come to light.